Misfits. Midtown. Misfits. Midtown. Misfits. Midtown. Misfits. Misfits.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi. That's funny. Whoa, after 3 years, she just done switched it up on me. Oh my gosh.
For a second, I was like, why are you pausing? I didn't realize.
That's funny.
Do you want to start again?
No.
Okay.
We could just keep it.
Okay.
We could just keep it.
After 3 years, it's time for a change.
Yes, it's time to do something fresh.
You got new hair. I got a hello, okay?
You're like, I never told you. I was bored of the other one.
I was so tired. I just wanted to say hello for once. Okay.
That's funny. Well, today you got your opportunity.
There you go. I feel so much better.
That's so funny. But hey, hello, party people. We are back with another episode. We are back with another singleton.
Yes, we are. 'Tis the season for singletons, apparently.
'Tis the season, yes. And we're excited about this one, although we say that about every episode. But
yeah,
this singleton is about a topic that we had absolutely no idea about.
Nope. Very recent.
And that's also something we say all the time. Yeah, this one's like a little off the wall, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's definitely not in like the realm of what I would have thought, but it's definitely interesting. Yeah.
Yes. And today, this interesting topic that we keep alluding to, which you already know what it is because you've already seen the title, is the Lachish Letters.
What are those, you might ask? That's why we're here.
That is why we're here. We have to, we looked up how to say this word very last minute too. Like, this episode's been ready to record for like a week now, but we're like, hey, we should figure out how to say this.
We should probably just make sure before we get too deep into this.
Yeah, we looked up the video, so we just for just once we wanted to do it the
correct
the
way.
Hebrew way, right? The correct way, the way that it's supposed to.
Authentic.
It's Lachish. Yeah, we might not be able to do that every time, so we're gonna call them the Lachish letters.
And also, there was like 2 different pronunciations, and we're like, well, we're not gonna try to figure out which one's more correct.
We're gonna go with Lachish.
Yeah.
But yes, we're talking about the Lachish letters.
Yeah.
And this is something that I found while I was reading the commentary. I was in the book of Jeremiah. I had been in the book of Jeremiah for a while. And I was reading the commentary because, personally, I needed an insurmountable amount of help because there's so much information in that book. And he's talking about so much, and he's prophesying about so many things and so many people and so many places. And there's a lot of things that require interpretation that, of course, a lot of commentators have already interpreted, but then the Holy Spirit can reveal stuff to us as well. Mm-hmm. But the reason I was in the commentary is because I read this, Jeremiah. I don't know what's happening. I need to, who else knows what's happening here? Because not me.
And I need some explanations.
Yes, exactly. And in that commentary, in one of the chapters, the Lachish letters were mentioned. And I'm like, what is that? This is interesting. As soon as I read that, I was like, this needs to be put on the Misfit topic list because we need to talk about it.
Yeah. Some people like us don't know this, so I'm sure there's someone out there who doesn't either.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So we're here to clear it up today. As always, this is going to be a very general episode about the Lachish letters. Everything that we do is, I feel like it's supposed to introduce something to you. It's also supposed to spark interest. So we're introducing the Lachish letters to ourselves and to you.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. So the Lachish letters are also known as the Lachish Ostrakon. Ostrakon just refers to a fragment of pottery that has writing on it. So if you see that, if you Google it, they're interchangeable, but that's why it's called Lachish Ostrakon as well. So these Lachish letters are a collection of texts that were found between 1935 and 1938 at biblical Lachish in southern Israel. These pieces of pottery date to the years immediately preceding the area's destruction by someone we know well, King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon, as described in the book of Jeremiah. So now we know 2 things. We know it's the Lachish letters, also known as the Lachish Ostrakon, and they're referred to in the book of Jeremiah.
Yes.
These letters provide a key to understanding and interpreting historical events surrounding the fall of the kingdom of Judah in 586 BCE, especially as some may link to the events recorded again, as we said in the book of Jeremiah.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know, context-wise, the book of Jeremiah, similar to the book of Daniel, right? There's a lot of parallels in there because we have Jeremiah and then we have Ezekiel as well. So the king of Babylon is coming as judgment for the Israelites because they were doing a lot of idol worship and other sins, of course.
Yes.
But the idol worship is really the one that's really being honed into by God with Jeremiah. And the king of Babylon is coming, and he is, as we said in different episodes, they're in waves taking people and sending them back to Babylon as slaves, essentially. And interestingly, although these are called letters, some are actually short administrative lists of individuals or dates, while some are letters and others are just pieces that haven't been able to be interpreted. These inscriptions were written with ink on pottery, which is really cool, in what is referred to as Old Hebrew cursive script or pre-exilic Phoenician Hebrew script. Also, whoever wrote these used a reed or a wood pen for the inscriptions. 18 of these were found in a destruction layer of ash and charcoal in a small room under a gate tower of Lachish's main defenses. And that's really cool because it's like, oh, okay, so they used ink and wrote on pottery.
Which is so interesting.
It's very advanced.
Like you hear letters and you're assuming it's like, you know, some kind of booklet or journal or something or pieces of paper, but it's on pottery, which is really interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if it was like one of those things where it's like, this is what I have on hand.
Yeah.
Or if this is something that was just done at the time and people just used to write as they draw and like do other stuff on pottery. They used to write on it as well. I don't know. Like if you're being exiled to Babylon and you're in a rush.
Yeah.
And there's a pot next to you, you're like, this is it. Like, I don't know.
Right. Like, how do I communicate without, like, with something I have on hand, I guess, maybe, or something like that. But yeah, so now we're going to quote from an article, biblicalarchaeology.org, to give you some more context of the content of these letters, or of the letters. I quote, "Many of the Lachish letters deal with the military forces stationed at Lachish and other fortresses in the Judean Shephelah during the last years of the Kingdom of Judah. Since their discovery and publication, there have been numerous interpretations of the Lachish letters. At various times, the texts have been considered part of a single correspondence, a dossier of texts pertaining to the trial of a military commander, numerous drafts of a single letter, or a collection of unconnected letters and records. Unfortunately, the fragmentary nature of it makes it difficult to reach any definitive conclusions. Yet with mentions of troop movements and references to enigmatic figures, the Lachish letters provide historians, archaeologists, and biblical scholars with an important window into the period." So that's really cool. And what's even cooler is that we know what one of these letters says, and the one that they titled the Lachish Ostracon number 3 shows that both the prophet Jeremiah and Uriah warned the Jews to surrender. The letter says, quote, "The commander of the army, Coniah, son of Elnathan, has gone down to go to Egypt. And as for the letter of Tobiah, the servant of the king, which came to Shallum, son of Yada, from the prophet, saying, Beware, your servant has sent it to my Lord." And then we see this being a parallel to the verses in Jeremiah chapter 26, verses 20 to 23. And it reads, "At the time, Uriah, son of Shemaiah, the Kiriath Jearim, was also prophesying for the Lord, and he predicted the same terrible disaster against the city and nation as Jeremiah did. When King Jehoiakim and the army officers and officials heard what he was saying, the king sent someone to kill him. But Uriah heard about the plan and escaped in fear to Egypt. Then King Jehoiakim sent Elnathan, son of Achbor, to Egypt, along with several other men, to capture Uriah. They took him prisoner and brought him back to King Jehoiakim. The king then killed Uriah with a sword and had him buried in an unmarked grave." And so we see the parallel, which is really interesting, right? Because this is a letter that was separate, right? Like it was communication, like we mentioned, like it could have been one whole one or just between them, but just knowing that it was like this parallel.
Yeah, like a non-biblical text that corroborates what is written in the Bible.
Right.
But it's so cool. I think what it does is, at least for me, what these letters do is that it reminds me in a sobering way, these were real people and these are real events. And even though we're reading them and not like a history book, we're just reading them to see God and to know God.
Right.
It just reminds us like this really did happen. Like these people people were real.
Yeah.
And there was a war, and there was a King Nebuchadnezzar, and like all of this is true.
Right.
It's just so cool.
Yeah, and a lot of times it feels very like, right, like we're so far away from it, and like, oh, this happened so long ago, and there's history of these events and like these kings. But then to like read things like this that are very particular, but yet at the same time corroborate the events of the time, you know, like, well, this wasn't some like scholar or someone trying to like a historian or something like that, right? Like it's just like a different medium completely. So it's interesting to see corroborated, you know, seeing the same stories from someone that's not involved in the Bible story, if you will.
Yeah, they were just, I don't know, doing what they did. They was trying to send a letter to somebody, or trying to send somebody a post-it of something that's happening.
Yeah, what they were witnessing, or they were also living. Yeah,
very much like we refer to him all the time, but like Josephus, right, the Jewish historian, who has nothing to do with the Bible, but everything he writes corroborates what the Bible said, right, and vice versa. It's like talking about the same events. The Bible, essentially, we have to remember that, first of all, the Bible wasn't written down first. It was like orally shared with people or whatever, and then it was starting to be written down, because like what we know, like Paul's letters, they were just letters, right? And then these things were actually like put to paper, and then they were bound, because what better way to teach someone about something, whatever that is, and you give them a manual, you give them instruction. Hey, this is what happened, here's the copy, so you can read it to these other people and inform them and educate them. And so I don't know, I feel like you said, we get so far removed from things, we sometimes view it as a history book, and it loses some of its flavor and its essence, because it's not what it is. It's indescribable, actually. I wasn't going to describe it. It's indescribable.
Yeah. And I know, like, we don't know these people personally, but, you know, we refer to them as characters in the Bible because we don't know them personally. But sometimes we do kind of think of them as characters, as in, like, well, someone wrote about him, but I don't know who this guy is, you know? But it's like, this makes them more real, if that makes sense, right? Like these were real people. Like, this was really happening. And just, it gives you, like, more... like it solidifies it a little more. Not that you need it, but like if you're kind of like, I'm unsure about it, like there's stuff like this that continues to confirm, right? Like that these were real events. This was really happening. And I think what's neat about this too is like, this is a lot more recent, right? So like they can date it back to then, but like this is something that was discovered pretty recently in our history anyway.
Right.
So like it's so neat that even all these years later, like we are still finding things. And the beautiful thing is like nothing's contradictory, right? Like everything just continues to like confirm and affirm what we already know.
Yeah, it is very cool. And yeah, that's our intro episode into the Lachish Letters, and what they are and where they were discovered and who talks about them in the Bible. So if you want to dig in there in the book of Jeremiah and find out more about these things and find the parallels, please do, because if I'm not mistaken, they found about 18 of them, and you know, some of them aren't able to be read, but some of them were. And so if you're a history nerd, if you're a Bible nerd, or if you just want to know more about these things, then definitely just dig into it. But we hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it helps you afresh know and remember, yes, this is all real. These people did exist. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. As always, this is Fran.
This is Yadi.
We are the Midtown Misfits, and we will see you next week.
Bye.